everyone, welcome to episode 58 of the My Two Tips podcast. My name is Elise, I am the host, and thank you for tuning in. So I have a whack of stuff to show you this week. I guess it's been a little while. It's been probably 3 weeks, maybe closer to 4. I feel like I'm trying to really compensate for the grayness outside. It's a very Vancouver day today. So it's hella gray outside. It's kind of dark and like dingy-ish inside. So we've just got a lot of gray, and I'm also wearing gray. So I guess there's gonna be some shadow. We're gonna see how it goes. So thank you for tuning in. I believe I didn't show this sweater last time. So this is the big secret preview knitting I was doing for the Brooklyn Tweed Deep Fall 18 release. This is the Haskell sweater by GUDRUN Johnson, and it's amazing. I love this sweater so much. It's more of a jacket the way that I've knit it, so there is a ton of positive ease in it. I believe mine turned out with a little bit more than the pattern called for because my gauge was just slightly different. But I love it. So there's beautiful cables down the front. There's 2 cables down the back. I'll insert some photos as well. And then it's an all over broken rib kind of texture to it. It's knit out of Corey, which is Brooklyn Tweed's woolen spun bulky weight. It's amazing. If you have any big cozy sweaters that you want to knit that call for a heavier weight yarn, I would definitely use the Corey because this thing weighs nothing. I ended up wearing this sweater for the whole second day of Knit City, and I didn't feel weighed down by it. Nothing. It was absolutely a dream to wear. And because wool is so amazing, as we all know, I was warm, but I never got too warm in it, and I didn't get cold. Like, it was just the perfect combination of a sweater that I could have worn on the rainy Sunday of Knit City this year. Highly recommend this pattern. A little bit of difference that I did was in the short rows for the neck. I just didn't do as many because I don't like having a ton of weight on the back of my neck, and I didn't want it to creep up too far. So when I'm actually wearing it properly, it just kind of sits along the back of my neck, which is exactly what I wanted. And there's optional pockets as well, which I just put away essentially. I opted not to put them on because with the amount of extra ease I have, it just would have given me too much extra bulk around my hips. So I would love to knit a second one of these with less positive ease. I'm considering swatching with something from my stash. It's a little bit of a different construction yarn, but it's still woolen spun, it's light, it's lofty. We'll just see. The Corey in this was just such a home run that, yes, it's expensive, But I am really starting to adopt this philosophy of like, you get what you pay for, and sometimes if the end result is going to be that much of like a win all around, it's just great. So we'll see what happens. I've also just recently, as in this morning, pulled out all the stash and went through it. I am so officially on a yarn diet. Please, 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 don't let me buy any more yarn. Which I will preface by saying there is some stuff in the mail on its way to me, but that's it. That's it. Anything I have purchased up until today, which is October 30th, maybe October 29th, that's it. No more. Yeah, I have a lot. So we're good for probably ever in regards to needing yarn. So yeah. Oh, in regards to Gudrun Johnson, I had recently been looking, it was actually for Knit City weekend, which was the end of September. I was trying to find a shawl of hers that I had knit because in, you know, chance that I had run into her with this sweater and the shawl, it just would have been amazing. Didn't run into her, however, but I couldn't find this shawl. Found it this morning in a bag of yarn, as you do. But this, I've shown it before. This is the HALLIGARTH shawl that she designed. Bag with like a Wool People, I think 9. I knit it quite a while ago. It's a half-hap, I believe is how you would call it. So you knit, you start at the very bottom, and you increase with the chart the whole way across in all these kind of, I don't know, tree-like leaf triangles. And then you leave this whole edge on hold and you knit the applied border edge. It's amazing. I absolutely love this shawl. When I couldn't find it, I was beyond sad. This was a little bit of a labor of love, like it's a lot of knitting, but the fact that I knitted in a lace weight held double, it was the Luxe Adorna lace weight. This thing weighs nothing, and it's warm, it's comfortable, it doesn't weigh down at the back of my neck when I wear it, even though there's a lot of it. Ugh. I love it, and I'm so happy to have found it. So it's a little Gudrun love for today. Wardrobe change. So this brings me to my next FO, which is the Grace cardigan. And I finished this the other week. This is my second version. So this is the second version of the Grace cardigan that I knit, because after the first time I knit it, which is this bad boy, bad girl, whichever one you prefer today, just doesn't quite fit the way I had wanted it to. Let's see if we can button it up here. Like I can't even button it smoothly. And this top one keeps busting open at the top of my bust. So how about we just go like this? So technically I can wear the sweater. I don't know, like it doesn't look horrible on, but I feel like the stitches are really pulling apart because the sleeves are a little bit too slim. This here, I mean, that does not have enough. Doesn't have enough room for the chest in there at all. Like, I don't want it to look like it's put, like if it looked like that, it would be better, but it doesn't. Oh, and I mean, the sleeves ride up a little bit. The whole thing was a bit of a mess. So this is essentially the first sweater I planned to knit. A good like 5.5 years ago, I guess. And I didn't know as much. I did do a gauge swatch, but I don't think I did it quite correctly because clearly this doesn't fit as well as it should. The yarn I used was Swan's Island fingering, so it's a wool, alpaca, and nylon. I'm not quite sure of the blend, but this thing usually makes me really, really hot because of the alpaca in it. It's softer than I'll get out. I'm sure you've seen some of the pills that have built up on it, which I haven't even worn this sweater very much, and it's got pills already, so yarn choice, maybe not the greatest. But let me pop on the second one. So much better. I'll put in pictures of this one as well, but you can see it's just not gaping as much. There's a little bit just comfortable ease to it. I didn't want it to be like a, I don't know, a super tight sweater. The arms aren't gaping at all in the stitches. The buttons stay closed. So happy with the decision to reknit this sweater. Not quite appropriate. So this is the Grace cardigan by Jane Richmond. It is a fingering weight sweater with a mesh panel in the front and one all across like the yoke of the back, or the back of the yoke. And I knit this version in Tuscan Knits Wee Neck, which is her non-superwash 100% merino, in her Pidwidgeon colorway, which turned out amazing. What did I do with this pattern? Well, let's see. I swatched, and my gauge, as if you've been here before, is all sorts of wackadoodle. So I ended up knitting the size 50-inch bust, which in the pattern I believe has a finished bust closer to a 48, and then with my gauge I think I might have ended up with a sweater closer to a 47-inch bust, somewhere in there. I believe those are the numbers. So yes, there's a lot of knitting because I was knitting the numbers of a sweater way bigger than the size according to my measurements. That's fine because it's worth it in the end. Very happy with it. In regards to the button band, the one with the buttons, so the right side, because I guess that's what the side female button band is supposed to go on. So in here, I knit just an extra garter bump before binding off so that the button edge of the hole, or the whole, whatever words, so that this aspect just had a little bit more stability. I'm very, very happy with this. I'm loving the yarn. I've worn it a few times already and I don't really see that many signs of wear. Like, there's a little bit, but wool pills. It's just a fact of life, people. So very, very happy with this. It's light, it's cozy. I will say, knitting it this time around, the mesh portion didn't give me as much trouble this time around. So I think I'm just more, can read my knitting that much better, and it actually turned out the way it's supposed to. On my first version, there's a section where the holes get a little, actually they get a little more straight stacked on top of each other than off kilter like they're supposed to be. So that's all I have to say about the Grace. I definitely have improved as a knitter, and I know more, which is something that if you've knit something in your beginning stages of your knitting career, I would highly recommend, if there's something you're not happy with in your knit drobe, pull it out, take a look at it, and see what you would do differently with that same project now if it's something that you still want to have as an item to wear. I'm so happy I did, because if I didn't, I'd probably be really upset that I have this beautiful cardigan that I just never wear but really still want to wear. So sometimes redoing things, but with just more knowledge behind it, totally worth it. So, oh, my hair is so staticky. Oh. You can tell the air has changed. So the other project I have to show today is another finished object, because it's been 3 weeks, possibly even 4. I think 3. And I cast on a shawl and I finished the shawl. So this one is bananas. I will not be able to show the whole thing in frame, so just be ready. It's ginormous. This is the Marley shawl. It is brioche and it is ginormous and I love it. There's some over there, there's some over here. I actually I have a little bit of a story with this one. So this is the Marley shawl by ANDREA MOWRY. It is a 2-color brioche triangle shawl, and it's a great pattern. However, I knit the pattern, ended up knitting the body to the full length of the pattern, which, where's my center spine? Is this long, which again you can't see the whole thing on here, but goes to there. I ended up going an extra 10 repeats. 11, 10 repeats. Because when I got, I believe it was just close to the end of the back of the paw. Wow. When I was knitting this pattern, I got a little miffed with the aspect of I wasn't going to use as much of the yardage that was called for in the pattern. Andrea tells you that you need 2 skeins of both colors. If I had knit this to pattern, I probably would have had 60 grams of each second skein left over, which really, really, really bothers me. So as I was knitting, the body repeats ended down here. I'm trying to stick my thumb through it, down here. So I ended up knitting a good 10 repeats more of the body, which is probably, I don't know, is that a foot? Is that a foot extra? And then the border. It's a lot of yardage to not have used up when a pattern calls for it in like the requirement. In the end, I ended up using my digital scale so much because I wanted to crunch out as much as possible. I finished the shawl. I used my scale like crazy to see if I could still crunch out another repeat or another row. And in the end, I ended up with these 2 little nuggets of the second skeins of each color. So this was my main color, and it is from Dragon Horde Yarn on her Lore sock, and it's the Seafoam Mermaid colorway. And then this one is Yarn Cafe Creations Biscotti sock, and it's the Honey Crisp colorway. I love them. So, there's so much of this shawl. It's really a blanket, let's just be honest. It's a triangle blanket. So, you can see on this side, which is the right side, there's more kind of the lighter white and blue showing, whereas if I show you the wrong side, it's definitely more of the pink Honey Crisp color. Loved it. So in the border, you end up marling both strands together, which I am not a big fan of knitting with 2 strands together. I believe I've talked about it before. If not, if we've hung out in person, I've probably ranted about it. But I think I did a fairly good job of making sure that I never dropped. Oh? Yeah. No, never dropped a strand of the 2, which makes me happy because I'd probably be a little upset about it. But this project was really enjoyable the whole way through. I will say the rows got quite long at the end, but I didn't really care. At some point, like, it's just so big and cozy. Loving it. So at some point when I was knitting, I realized that, oh my goodness, I understand brioche. Never thought it would happen. So I could look at the beginning of a row and know what row I was on. It was magic. And I think literally after knitting a project this big, you should be able to understand brioche that much better if you didn't when you started, because it's repetitive. Like, I did, believe it was 44 repeats plus 3 rows of the brioche. That's a lot of rows. That's so many, so much of the same thing over and over and over again that if you're being mindful of what you're doing and kind of picking up on things, I think you would automatically kind of get used to what the heck you're doing and what comes next, which is great. I will say that when I started doing the border, which is just garter, so you're just knitting every single row, it was really hard. I was in such a rhythm with the brioche that I just couldn't easily get back into the rhythm of just knitting, which is such a weird thing. But it really took a lot of concentration, which I was really surprised at. So part of me wants to get another brioche project on the needles, but I'm also like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should crunch something else out first. But that's pretty much all I have to talk about today. I did pull out this yarn because I realized that I think I really am ready to knit with it now. And this is the West Coast color. Her Laughing Out Loud's 100% superwash merino worsted weight in, I think it's Pav Lake, I believe. So it's this beautiful green color, which is kind of just blowing out, but it's really beautiful. And I believe I'm gonna knit the Salt shawl by Sylvia McFadden out of it, because there's something about those little triangles that are all the way through the pattern. They kind of look like trees, and I don't know, a nice green tree-like shawl. Perfect. And I've also realized that leaf blowers are my nemesis. Well, now that there's building maintenance happening, I'm gonna wrap this up, let you guys go. I am hoping to get some stash videos going now that I've gone through the stash and organized it a little bit better. This is ridiculous. Hopefully this isn't completely annoying, but I wish you the best to the rest of your week, and we'll see you later. Bye guys.